Hey guys, so someone asked kind of like a basic rundown on Crafters League stuff, and this is it will be for the Crafters League, which is slowing down. But this is also the reason you want to play the Crafters League and learn this is because it will make you do things that you haven't done before when you get an item that's crafted that doesn't just fit the standard uniques that are all out there. And I kind of have as I generally do with these things, I have a story on this. It won't be world politics or anything like that, but skip ahead 3 minutes if you don't want to hear this. But I had a court case recently, and there's things called scheduling orders sometimes. When you go up to circuit court, which is the big kid court in Virginia, there's an appeal of a custody battle from the juvenile domestic relations court, the smaller court. Well, you go up to the big kid court on appeal, and it's all de novo. It's a brand new case. But big kid court has these things called scheduling orders, and they basically say, hey, you got to turn over all your evidence, everything's got to be turned in with a certain period of time, and all that. Well, if there's no scheduling order, sometimes there isn't, you don't have to send your evidence to the other side. They don't issue discovery, they don't know what you're going to present. That's a big advantage. So what me and my paralegal do is we stay up till about 10, 11 p.m., keep our phones on the day before of a scheduling order, the day it's due, and if we don't see any evidence sent from the other side, we don't send ours. And then we issue discovery or something, and or already have it issued. We'll find some tactical advantage here. So we stayed up. No evidence came from the other side. We said, great, we have all the evidence. My client was the guy doing the right thing for his kid. Mom was not. So I said, let's just go in blind, and we don't need to know what they're going to present because we have the facts. Well, I get to court, and we made a mistake. There was a scheduling order, and I didn't have the online access to that court because it was a small court. And what I should have done was gone and driven the hour and a half out there and checked the court record itself, but my client didn't want me to do that. So all of a sudden, I'm in a case where I have all the facts, and I technically can't present any evidence because I haven't turned it over to the other side. They can't present it either, but when they have the bad fact pattern, they're okay with a little bit of chaos. So what I did was I thought on my feet. I did something I don't normally do. I just made a bullshit argument. I like to argue the law, but I said, hey, look, Your Honor, they're on notice. We had a court case in JDR. They're on notice for every piece of evidence that was presented in JDR. And the court bought it. They said, yeah, you are on notice for this, so we're going to be able to present all of the kids' school records and everything that was presented before at the original case. And I lost out on all the new stuff, and there was bad grades from the months prior when Mom had custody because she had appealed her loss and kept custody. But I was able to get in all my evidence, and then on cross-examination, I can't present the kids' new grades, but I knew Mom was not involved with the schooling. So instead, I said, hey, what grade did your kid get in science? And she said A. He's doing great. Math, B, doing great. She just started making these things up. And at the end of it, I said, well, isn't it true, though, that your grading scale in elementary school is actually satisfactory, proficient, and failing? And she didn't know that. Now, I couldn't present the grades because I didn't have a scheduling order. I didn't present my evidence to the other side or the court. But all of a sudden, Mom's up on the stand, just got caught in a lie. I thought on my feet. And then the other attorney, who again didn't follow the scheduling order either, tries to get up and redress this and protect his client and starts trying to introduce the very same school records that he blocked me on. So I just said, Your Honor, good for the goose, good for the gander. If Dad can't present evidence, Mom can't present evidence. And he couldn't get it in. He couldn't redress his client. He couldn't fix her bad testimony. She got caught lying on the stand. And I did that without having to actually present any evidence. And that stuck with me. That was a good case for me because it told me no matter how prepared you are, that thick binder you bring to court in your flow chart, it doesn't matter when a wrench gets thrown into your plans. And that's kind of how the Crafting League works. It forced me to come up with a new build because I found something, crafted something I wouldn't normally get. So, with all that out of the way, let's kind of go over some of the basic crafts that you want. In terms of money makers for Crafters League, it is tier runes. They're the big ones, but AMs, RALs, Orts, anything that makes a weapon, especially these first 4 here, is very good. Beyond that, safety crafts for the armors are probably the best for most people, at least physical classes, obviously, because they have damage reduced built in, and cast rate is good for the casters. I mean, it's literally called a caster, caster craft. Vampiric, this is, again, good, why we're going over this. Good in regular season. 10 to 20% deadly strike. It costs you a lum rune, but if you can roll skills, that's sometimes best in slot for a lot of classes. And over here, Ral runes. You should be doing this in the regular season. You should be, if your bow is on, you should be spending your souls on these. If you're a caster, you should be spending your tears on the weapons. If you're a melee class or any class with physical damage, you should be spending your lums on helmets, and you should be spending your Rals on blood gloves, because they have crushing blow built in, which is really, really good. In terms of the Amazon, like I said, soul runes for your crossbows. Every Boazon should really be crafting those. They're just too good. That's the things that beat Wind Force, the thing that beat Juiced Barizas. It's like, it's going to be a juicy, juicy, juicy craft. Assassins, again, just like other casters, your 1 to all skills here is just, well, you can potentially roll, what, 6 to all skills on certain things. You roll 2 to assassin skills. Oh, 7. So yeah, you can get 2 to all skills, 1 to all skills from this, 3 to the skill that you want, and you could corrupt it for another 1. And that's going to apply for Sorks and Necros as well. Barbarians, hit power. This is generally, I always thought it was going to be Bloods because of the lifesteal, but I guess Throwbarb suffers a little bit from attack rating or something, but I see a lot of hit power crafts with the Throwbarbs, and that's going to be your go-to. On Paladin here. I mean, Paladin is one of those classes where anything kind of works. If you got a big one-hander, you should kind of be crafting all of these, but the Bloods are probably going to be your best bet, and your hit power's next. If you need Mana Leech, I mean, it costs you a Shale Rune, which is an awful lot, and the Replenish Life really doesn't do too much. But, you know, don't sleep on even the Bountifuls. I mean, having extra MF is not bad, especially on a character that generally isn't going to be one of the faster clears, like a Zealer. I know charged Paladins and things like that can really, really ramp up some damage, but, you know, they walk around and they hit things. They're not as fast like a Sork would be, for example. Sorks, again, you're going to... Oh, hang on, my kid's out of the bath. All right, sorry, I think I was on Sorks. Also, don't be crafting staves. Generally speaking, you want to be crafting the single-handed orbs. I mean, and also don't get stuck on this too. I mean, it is cool to get these nasty crafts that, you know, you can get up to 7 to skills, but I mean, a Cold Sork, a Fathom is almost always going to be better, and a Studas is almost always going to be better for Fire and Lightning. It's neat. You know, some style points if you just wanted to do a crafting build, but generally, it's not like Boazon where your best in slot really is going to be a sick safety craft, as rare as it would be. Your best in slot for Sork probably is not going to be the tiers weapons here. But, I mean, amulets, again, Rals, even regular season, you should be crafting these nonstop. I mean, every Ral and Amethyst should be heading towards this. Sorks obviously want the cast rate, but when you can hit +2 to skills and cast rate and everything else, and, you know, the cast rate's already built in, you can double up on the cast rate and get 20%. You can corrupt it for even more. Yeah, it's just, it's way too good. Same thing with caster belts. Don't sleep on those. I know an Iraq exists, but you can get 30 FCR belts, and sometimes that's just your best in slot, depending on how your gear has rolled around a bit. Druids, same thing though, except sometimes your weapon can be the best in slot, because Druids can get, especially summon Druids can get obviously 7 to some sort of summoning skill. You want to be crafting clubs and things like that. Remember, in PD2, the skills for Druids come from the clubs. In terms of big money makers, though, just, hey, this is what you use for classes, but what can you sell? I always craft every ethereal throw weapon I get, because that is almost always best in slot for throw barbs. You know, they don't just use a lacerator or whatever they find. They got to get one big ethereal throw weapon, and I'm always spending my tiers in the regular seasons crafting those. Same thing with assassins. Any ethereal claw you find, whirlwind sins, yeah, they have the one whirlwind claw, but generally their damage comes at endgame from some big ethereal claw with a Zod in it. So even if it's not optimal, I'll be using my orts. I generally use my tiers on hit power. You want hit power for claws too, but hey, I'll use the blood crafts on the claws as well if that's all I got. You never know what you're going to hit, and I did get a sick blood craft one season with like 572 ED, and that was my claw for the entire season there. Another one, L runes are kind of useless. They're only good for one thing, in my opinion, and that is crafting these belts. Again, you can hit 20 FCR belts, or sorry, not L runes. Yeah, down... What's for the boots? No, it's the L runes down here. I mean, yeah, Mana Leech on boots is... think about it. You can hit Tri-Res with Mana Leech on boots, and generally physical classes like my Bozons, they only need one source of Mana Leech, right? So if you can pull that off of a ring, it's just another modifier you don't need there. I have hit a couple sick crafts with this, but when you don't have much use for L runes, hey, that's where I throw them. Where else? Is there anything that's really underrated here? I mean, open wounds, if they fix that, the open wounds belts will probably be a good thing to go for. I believe they are trying to adjust the open wounds to make it a little more viable. I believe open wounds barb was still okay. And also, don't sleep on anything that can roll, especially in the safer things, the safety crafts, which is most of them. The magic damage reduce and physical damage reduced by, that is the most underrated stat in the game. If you don't believe me, go put on, what is it, a dwarf star? What is it? Some ring has reduced magic damage. It might be a Raven Frost, can't remember. But just go stand in like a blizzard from a Hierophant with that on and with it off. It really shrugs off a lot of just that little magic damage that takes you over time, or spells that can stack up. Those are just good to have. If you don't have something to fill that slot, safety crafts, I mean, it's a great stat to have. It just is. I think that's kind of a good enough breakdown here. I've given you sort of what you want to be targeting for each class. Physical classes, you want the safety armors. Caster classes, you want the caster weapons. Every class, you want blood and caster ammies, really. People have picked up finally the blood amulets are awesome because they have the faster run walk on them. Safety bows for Amazons. Any weapon across the first 4 here is really worth your time. They are expensive, but hey, shales, if you got a excess of shales, you can go with these 2. Vampiric helms for any melee class. Helms, decent second choice here. They do have crushing blow, and don't forget the crushing blow on the blood gloves. Told you the buddy makers, told you what you should do for each class here, and I hope that's a good enough rundown. Also, just someone was doing this the other day, don't forget to key your jewels in your cube, especially for the Crafters League, because they do break down into multiple jewel fragments, which will save you a lot of time there. Thanks for listening to me rant. See ya.